Welcome to the Holy Mischief Podcast. Here we shine a light on the hidden gems of Cartersville and Bartow County. Helpers, creators, and everyday heroes spreading love and kindness in extraordinary ways. Think of us as Mr. Rogers for adults, sharing stories that spark hope, joy, and a little bit of holy mischief along the way. Pull up a seat, neighbor. It's time to meet the incredible people making a difference in your backyard. Today, I have with us as our guest, Ashley Davis. Hey, Ashley.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so excited to talk to you.
I'm very excited today.
I met Ashley literally about 5 minutes ago, but I've heard about her from so many different people. Alex Dyer he was the one that recommended you. And so I am really excited to get to know more about what you do. And I am sure you've seen so many acts of holy mischief, which I like to describe as acts of kindness or compassion or mercy where God unexpectedly shows up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure God is not unexpectedly showing up, but we are just surprised by it, and it just touches our soul in new ways. So tell us a little bit about you and about what you do.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. I'm very excited. I'm Ashley Davis. I am the executive director for the Red Door Food Pantry here in Cartersville, Georgia. We are a 501(c) nonprofit food pantry. So we provide food to those who are in need. Yeah. And so we have 2 days that we are open. So we have distribution days of Tuesday evenings or Wednesday mornings. Okay. And so we work primarily with volunteers. So it's a volunteer run base. I am the only employee for the Red Door Food Pantry. Okay. So I go off the direction of the board. So my goal is to feed as many people in Bartow County that are in need of assistance. Okay. So every week we pack 25 pounds of bags. Over the holidays, it'll be a lot different because we do holiday meals. But we pack those and we distribute them on the days of distribution to families.
It's all the same thing in the bag?
Everybody gets the same
for that
week.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. It does change based on the items that we're able to get from the Atlanta Community Food Bank because we are a partner with them. So we're able to get a lot of different resources for a fraction of the dollar. So for every dollar, we're able to provide 3 meals for a household.
Okay. And your distribution area is downtown, but you also have, you recently acquired something new, so you could do fresh food. So tell us a little bit about that.
So we've expanded. We have had the ability to, we've opened actually a storage annex, which is at the old primary school. We've partnered with Cartersville City Schools, which is an amazing opportunity. And we have been using their old kitchen. So now we've been working in the small space that we had at the church, Church of Ascension, which is amazing. And we've had our reach-ins there and we've been doing all of our activities there. So we had, we worked with what we had, which was great. But now we have 3,200 square feet additional storage capacity, with 2 walk-in freezers and a walk-in refrigerator that has opened the doors and the possibilities for us.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
As a pantry, which I'm so excited about. I will tell you, over Thanksgiving, we had 400 turkeys to to give out to families, which we've never been able to do. And I will tell you, it was my favorite thing to go into every week and just see the freezer full
of turkeys,
just turkeys. And it was it was so much fun. It was my favorite place of the annex. Everybody has their own, all the volunteers, but that was my favorite because it was just, I've never seen that many turkeys in one capacity. And it was just, there were so many, and it was just a great feeling to be able to give that to everybody who just was concerned. And we had a lot of families that were incredibly concerned this holiday season of whether they were going to have a meal or not. So for us, it just gave us more of initiative and a push, even those hard 12-hour days of just making sure we had what we needed to get those meals out to families.
Awesome. So it sounds like you have a lot of volunteers.
Yes.
How many patrons, I think, is the people that you give food to? How many patrons come through a week, a year?
It's changed from last year to this year. We're looking at a 26% increase of households. And we've seen it a lot more. We've had our biggest months, October and November, where we've helped over 800 households, which is amazing because if you think about it, in September we did 600. So from September to October, we did over 200 households, and then from that 230, and we're anticipating another, 250 additional that we've had from last year, obviously, and from the year before, which is great in a sense that we're able to provide that many, but it's just a situation that it's a catch-22, that double-sided sword, where you want to help so many people, and it's great that we're able to touch all those households, but you don't want to have to worry about that to begin with. So we're doing everything that we can to help those households on a continuous basis and just help end food insecurity in general, to make everybody aware of it too.
Wow. And how many volunteers regularly?
Oh, wow. I mean, we have at least 20 to 30 a week that come through. Nice. And we have new partnerships. We have partnership with Shaw, Amazon. And so they're coming in now to do their monthly packing with us and distribution. Textron is one of our great helpers as well. And they come and do a lot of our distribution. And sometimes they'll do packing. Glenda Mitchell Law Firm comes and helps us out too, which is great. So we have a lot of great partners that will come into and just give us that extra push on the times that we really need those extra hands. Yeah. And we did 476 Thanksgiving, the distribution for Thanksgiving in 2 weeks. Those are the households that we helped. So it was incredibly important to make sure that we had, because we're going off of an additional 26% more. So we don't know what we're going to see. Right. So we have to be very thoughtful to make sure we have enough. And now that we have 2 facilities, we don't have everything at the one facility anymore. Right. So we have to be very thoughtful of that as well and plan ahead.
Yeah. So I'm sure with all of the volunteers and the amount of activity that you've had, you've probably seen some really powerful examples of holy mischief, either with a volunteer or a patient or patron or both. So is there one that comes to mind that really touches your heart?
Yes, I have actually a couple. A lot of times, and I think a lot of misconceptions when it comes to food pantries, it's for homeless people or people that are just, and it's really not. It's sometimes people just have a hard time. They're without a job, or just things that are really expensive, and you just go through a hard time. And we want to make sure that everybody that comes to the pantry knows that we're there with an open door and an open heart. Yeah. And there are no judgments. And a lot of times what we're seeing is a lot of people that you typically would never see are coming through. And it's a very daunting experience for anybody that has gone through, where you are very humbled and you need help and you don't have the ability, or you've been turned away multiple times. So we had already closed our doors for the day, probably a few minutes, and we're cleaning up. And there was a lady that came in and she was very hesitant. You could tell she just really needed somebody to talk to, somebody to hear a story. And we did. We sat and talked to her. I just said, "How's it going?" And she's like, you're closed. I said, "What would, it doesn't matter." Right. That is just a technicality. We can kind of go around a little bit. It was a few minutes. And she said, "I was running late. This was my last resort. I've been turned away from everybody. Wow. That you make too much, or why are you here? Or we can't help you. We don't have the capability." Yeah. And so for me, I already had a tissue I have tissue in my pocket most of the time. If I don't, we have boxes ready to go. This one just touched us all, because you could just tell that this was her. She was at her wit's end, and it was hard for her to even get a sentence in to say, "I just need help. I have babies. We need food. We don't have anything." So for us, I'm just looking at her, and this was the first time for me that I've ever had just that solo interaction with somebody. That usually it's that, "Hi, how are you?" Right. I'm walking through, I'm helping with unloading or loading. It's a very casual conversation. So for me, it was just I was very touched. Yeah. And I felt her sense of urgency and need. And I just hugged her, because that's all at that time I felt like I needed, but we both just cried. And for me, I felt her, she felt that. I mean, we just felt it. And I think everybody around us too, for that moment. And I just listened to her, and we just had a talk. We were just
Yeah.
moms for a moment. You
Yeah.
know, my children are older, hers were younger. The ladies around us were all moms, and we all felt what she needed for that one time. So we brought her in the pantry. It was raining and cold that day, and you know, don't need to stand outside and make it feel any worse than it already does. So we brought her in. We just talked, and that 5 minutes just makes a difference for somebody. And even for me, because it was a long day, and sometimes you don't get to see the full reward of how what you've done has really fully impacted somebody on that day. But we felt it. And that just gave me that push that I needed. And I walked home, and I like literally got in my car after we helped her. We gave her the food. We were to give her formula that she hasn't been able to give or find. And for us, that's huge. It is that. And we all just sat there and humbled at the very end. Were just kind of quiet at the second. And everyone just looked at me and they were like, I can't say no. Like that's the problem. Like, as much as I try, like I have to go within my guidelines, and I do stay within that. But I am, you know, if I can help somebody, we will. You know, and that's really it. Is this person she couldn't even talk because she had already said her story so many times, and nobody could help her. And we knew, like I knew, I felt it. There was that sense of just, you don't have to explain it.
I have chills. So it sounds like not only did she have a physical need, but she really needed to be seen.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, wow.
So for me, that changed not my approach, because I understood, like I understand that everybody is a person and everybody has their own individual story and what brings them there, whether you're a volunteer or whether you're a patron or whether you're just stepping through that you need a prayer request or just whatever it is, something brings you there at the pantry. And there is just something about it. So for me, I now, like I talk to a lot of patrons. I stand in the window a lot so I can give out food, and that gives me the opportunity to then talk and know everybody. So now everybody knows who I am, and I know stories of why they're there and how much this has really helped them. And they know that they can rely on it when they do need it. And sometimes someone's like, I may not be here for a month, or I haven't been here for a year. Did you? And I'm like, but I'm glad that you came back, because I do remember you. Or somebody's like, did you remember me? I came one time and I didn't want to come, but I needed it so bad. And I just was in a bad time. And you made me feel like I was not standing in line for food, you know, for assistance. And that's really it. The goal for us is you're not there. You're there just to get a smile, to feel like you're more than just somebody who needs help. Because we all could be in that position one day. And to think that you aren't is, you know.
Yeah. Any other stories that you can think about?
We had one just recently, which I think for us was really fulfilling. We had a family that came in, and it was during Thanksgiving distribution, and it was the busiest night that we had had. And Spanish was their second language. And you can tell that they were very hesitant to come in because they weren't able to get help because there was no ability to really translate to them.
And do you have someone?
Well, we do. And we've also started the ability of getting our papers and our instructions in Spanish as well. So we're working on all of that to make sure everybody has the comfort and they know that there's somebody there that can translate. So we did have somebody there. And at first the person was very like, I don't know if I'm gonna, you know, you could tell there was a lot of hesitation. And as soon as I looked at that person and I said, we're here to help you. The more that you tell us, the more we can help you. And after that, he looked at me and he was like, and I said, okay. And he understood, I understood. And then she was able to translate. And then we were able to get them everything. And it was the youngest couple, was a very young couple. And their person, once they walked away, she was in tears. And she said they've been turned away. And because they can't translate, and I can't translate a lot. But the way you guys came and helped them, and I will tell you the following week, we had more Spanish speakers because now they understand. Like now they know, hey, they're good. They have the ability, maybe not at 100%, but we have some capabilities to at least translate and get our message across and get what we need to get from them so we can help.
So I have never thought about, I've always wanted to learn another language. I got a minor in French in college. Haven't used it a lot, but have used it occasionally. I've always wanted to learn some Spanish and maybe another language as well. But I never thought about learning another language as an act of compassion,
Yes.
which I really think it is. And we've seen here at the church, we've had visitors that spoke Spanish and Korean. And one time we had someone who was translating, and the other time we were using Google Translate, which is clunky and awkward, but it still works. And I just feel like the more we can try to communicate with each other, we can see each other.
Break those barriers.
Yeah.
I agree.
Awesome.
I agree. And it was great because I'm originally from California. I just moved to Cartersville a little over a year ago with my husband. So I do know a little bit of Spanish, not enough to really have a conversation with, but it made me call my best friend and say, like, I have the Google, I have literally a translation Babbel now because I want to learn how to speak. So then it kind of gives you that extra motivation to do something to improve, not only to just give yourself a little bit of an improvement, whether it's just learning how to say, have a great day in Spanish, because that just might make somebody's day.
Yeah.
And to me, that's enough, sometimes.
So how did you get into this line of work?
Wow. It's interesting because I used to be in banking. And then before that, I was in the restaurant business. And so a little over a year ago, I had back into 2023, I had a kind of a fork in the road where I got the role that I was really looking for to have in my career. And I had a lot of obstacles with it because it was helping the elite and not really helping the people who really wanted help kind of move up. And so I just remember being in a room and not wanting to do that. There was something that told me this is not you anymore. So I texted my husband and said, I don't know if I want to take this. And so we went home and talked, and he said, well, that means that we might need to shift some changes. And I said, okay, then maybe this is our shift to leave California and kind of go, because his job was remote. He was a chief of staff for a biotech. They were working on curing cancer. And so he had a little bit of flexibility with not being, in an actual physical location. So we had friends in Georgia, family in Georgia, and they kind of said, take a look at Cartersville. And we looked at it, and I said, wow, okay, well, let's see if we can sell our house. We sold it in 2 days.
Wow.
And everything kind of within a month, we were in Georgia.
Okay.
And we had
welcome.
Thank you. And so for me, we kind of took a break just to kind of get through the transition, understand, the community that we're in. It really was to take a step back and slow down and really enjoy life a little bit more and listen to your kind of, I knew my heart was to help people and to be a voice for someone that maybe didn't have that ability to speak up. I just didn't know how to do it. So I was talking to my girlfriends at bingo night, and I was telling them, like, this is what I'm thinking. And if I have to change my degree to do that, I'm going to start with volunteering and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
And literally 3 weeks later, she said, I got wind that there is a position available at the Red Door Food Pantry. And I was like, I looked it up and I was like, wow, I have some experience there. It's a little different than obviously what I'm used to. But I've done a lot of volunteering outside of my work at, my children's schools, at different organizations. So I know I can do it.
Yeah.
And so I interviewed, and here I am.
And here you are.
July 1st, I started, and we opened our new facility October 15th, and we've just been going with it. And the goal is to get that facility open so that we can have the capability and the means to get the holiday season ready to help.
Okay.
And that's what we've been doing. And I've been since then working with different partnerships to make sure that we can maintain the food that we have on hand, that we have the ability to have that growth, but not only that, but to have different storage annex in different areas and just start touching everybody in Bartow County.
Okay.
All the smaller towns that just don't have the funding or the assistance or the
transportation,
anything.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do, because now we see that there's, the lack of getting there. The transportation is now a problem.
Yeah.
Are people that are homebound and they don't have the ability. So now we're working. My hamster wheel is constantly going, and I'm always thinking of different ways of not only just to reaching more people, but just to fine tuning our capabilities and making them just, everything smooth.
Yeah, I interviewed a food pantry director in Noonan one time, and she said there's not a food problem in the world. There's a transportation and distribution problem.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough food for everyone, but getting it to the right people is difficult.
It really is. And, coming from such a large state, California, you don't always get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's, especially when you go into areas that it's just not there, more affluent or just middle class areas or just in areas in general. And then by the time we were leaving, you started to see it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And then especially during COVID. Yeah. And during COVID, my viewpoints changed because I worked with a lot of businesses and my goal was to help them stay afloat. So it was, going from helping people with their investments and helping people with their, planning and financial planning and things like that, to helping them keep their businesses afloat and feeling that stress. Mm-hmm. That really changed my mindset of, okay, we need to not change banking because banking's just going to be the way it is, but really have that ability to help everybody that comes in. So I had a glass office and I loved it because people saw me when I walked in and everyone just beelined it to my office. And they're like, you look like you have an office that I shouldn't be sitting in. I'm like, that's not true. Come have a seat. How can I help you? That was really always my way. And It was, my boss is like, well, how much do they make? I'm like, I didn't ask them that yet because that's just not what I'm going to do, and to come to a small town from 130,000 people to 28,000. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was at first a huge culture shock for me and for my husband as well, but we love it because those small towns have the biggest hearts. And I've never seen so many individuals, so many religious organizations come together.
Right.
And laugh and for people. Yes. And for me, my job is not in a glamorous office. It's not with the glass. It doesn't have pretty flower. It doesn't have the paintings. But I will tell you, like, I get up every day with this light underneath me because I might be tired and sore from picking up boxes or moving pallets, and because I do that.
Yeah.
And but it's just different.
Yeah.
And my girlfriends laugh because they're like, you trade your heels for boots, and I'm like, I did. But it's great because you have just that. I can't explain it. I mean, maybe you can see it or feel it from me, the energy, but it does change you as a person. And I know that I have not questioned why I'm here, and making such a change. I didn't have to. I was comfortable, you know, and for me, when I'm too comfortable, that's time to change. And I need to go somewhere where I'm a little uncomfortable because that's where, I grow as a person.
Yeah. People grow in those tense,
that's it.
Challenging situations. Yeah.
And that's it. And so for me, that's where I like to shine, to put me in a spot, I will figure it out, and that's why I told the board, I may not have been an executive director before, but I will get what you need done and I will figure it out. And that's, they have been very happy. I've been happy. I think, our patrons they know the Red Door Food Pantry is here. I go online, I talk to, different social media platforms and different groups, I'm there, I'm reading the stories. Yeah. I'm aware. I'm ears. I don't always see it. I'm not always paying, I don't always look like I'm paying attention, but I am. I'm a mom, moms pay attention. They're hearing everything. So, but it is our goal for 2025 is just to continue.
So I was going to ask you, like, what is your biggest hope for the future?
Our biggest literally is to have a spot in every town in Bartow.
Okay.
And just have a hub.
Just grow it out to the rest of the county.
The county and literally be that heart and then just spider out. Okay. And have that, that is the goal. The board wants to have that either whether it's a mobile or an on-site, facility where we're able to then have it, run there, but we're the heart and we just spread it out.
Okay.
And get through Bartow County and start really making a dent in, really letting people know that we're here. And if you can't get to us, we're going to come to you. And a lot of times my calls are, don't forget about me. And I'm like, I won't. I put your names on a piece of paper with your number. And it's, for delivery service. I'm like, just give me some time. I'm working on it. Give me 2025. Okay. We'll get a delivery service in. Give us 2025. We'll get into a different hub.
Okay.
That's the goal, and with that, we need the means to do it, so we're working on that with donations. We have our Mardi Gras gala coming up in February. And so we have a lot of great events online where our kings and queens are doing fundraising to raise funds. And with those funds at the end of the year from the fundraising gala, we're able to do all of that.
Yeah.
We were able to do the storage annex and get that facility going. We have a truck, we have a forklift. We have these. Yeah. We're growing, and with that, we have the need, and now we're going to go find it. That's really what we're doing. So it's to grow. It's exciting. Not to be in these 2 hubs. It's to have more.
Yeah. Awesome.
I don't know how many.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
Okay. I love it. Very exciting times. So I'd like to wrap up. Yes. If there's anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask.
No, I think we covered
a lot. Okay.
A lot.
So I'd like to end. Yes. Anyone listening, what challenge, holy mischief challenge, would you have for people?
Wow. Just do it. If you have any type of hesitation, it is a hesitation. Mm-hmm. But if that hesitation is go. The want will grow past the hesitation, if that makes any sense. For me, I knew that it was a change. I left my family, support system. So to do something like this, because I felt that there was something bigger for me to do, and I just needed to find it outside of the comfort of my own home. So sometimes it's just that. Yeah. Going past your fear. Yeah. And just do it. Sometimes it's just that cannonball. Maybe you're like, just jump in,
I'm listening to you and I'm reminded of my own call. I was a computer programmer and God called me out of that to go into ministry, and just having the courage to listen.
That's it.
And to take that next step.
That's it. And sometimes it's it. I still remember that day of telling my husband, like, I'm done. And I don't think he ever thought I would ever say that. Yeah. Because it was always someone telling me she's not going to get that job. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to get it. Yeah. So I was always pushing forward, but it is that. I was like, okay, I'm getting it, but I'm not feeling the fulfillment from it. Mm-hmm. That's not it. So sometimes it's just really listening and really just saying it's okay. And it's going to be okay. Yeah. And it was like, I prayed and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Yeah. If it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen. I know you're going to help me. Yeah. And it was one of those journeys that I literally, I told Alex at church, I said, it's interesting is we lived very comfortably, but we always felt a little bit of the wind push against us, and we never really understood it. And here it's like the wind is going with us, like we're going with the wind. So we felt that little bit of an ease where we kind of go, okay, this is where we're supposed to be. It's calmed down a little bit. It's like we can kind of see that clarity that we didn't always have there because we were going. And now it's like it's wide open. So just listen and go with it.
Listen. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will put in the show notes how to get in contact with you. Yes. If you want to donate to Red Door, if you want to get involved in volunteering. It sounds like they will have plenty of wonderful things in the future.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's dose of hope and holy mischief. A big thank you to Trinity United Methodist Church for sponsoring this podcast and supporting stories that uplift our community. Until next time, keep spreading kindness and making a difference. And remember, God loves you, and so do I.